You're watching Around Town with Larry Seaman. On today's show, we revisit the American College of History and Legal Studies in Salem, New Hampshire, to get an update on the college. Our next interview is with Michael Coyne, Associate Dean of Sister School, Massachusetts School of Law in Andover, Massachusetts. Talk a little bit about your background and what led you to here.
Well, about 22 years ago, we decided to start the law school. What we thought in starting it is that it should have a much more practical bent. It should be modeled much more along the lines of the medical school model as opposed to a strictly academic institution. And I was practicing law in Boston back then. I was teaching part-time, and I met the dean, and about another half a dozen of us did, and we left our practices, mine in Boston. He had been a lawyer in Washington, D.C. for many years preceding that. And what we decided to do is build this law school modeled much more along the lines of the way a medical school would look. Like we like to say is that you wouldn't go see a doctor if that doctor, the first time he ever operated on you was the first time he ever touched a patient. Well, we like to have that type of experience in law school. So our law students will have simulated client experiences, will try cases in a courtroom where no one's going to go to jail at the end of the day. They will write and learn to write as a good advocate should over the course of their studies. And what you'd find is that when we welcome in practicing judges and lawyers and other experts in who day-to-day are in court or in a governmental agency, they can bring that experience in to teach a student not just what the theory of law is like, but the practice of law is like. And so that's why we started the law school. While I came here, the reason I came here is that it made sense to me, having been a practicing lawyer in Boston for 7 years at that point, that if we were going to teach people how to actually practice law, the people doing it should be judges and experts and lawyers, not just professors who study the law, but our professors not only study the law but continue to engage in some level of practice so they can bring that experience to the classroom.
Could you go a little bit further as to what kind of law courses you give?
Sure. One of the principal things we try to encourage and develop in our students here is their advocacy skills. Mm-hmm. We have a very strong trial and appellate advocacy program. And so in the first year, a student will take the basic building block courses that they'd take probably at any law school across the country: contracts, torts, civil procedure, criminal law, stuff you see sort of on TV, which sometimes Law and Order does actually have some value for those that are interested in law school. But then beyond that first year experience, where much of it is spent in the classroom, we then get students on their feet experiencing how to try a criminal law case, how to argue a suppression motion, how to draft a will and trust if that's what they would be inclined to do in the future, and how to mediate disputes. So what we try to do is give them both the theory of law, the standard type courses and the standard knowledge you'd expect your lawyer to have, but also to have them start to work with that so they can be more effective practitioners when they leave the law school.
Just out of curiosity, you were mentioning TV shows and stuff like that. Do you ever do a class on Perry Mason or any of the current law shows that they have?
You know what's funny about that is I teach both criminal law and criminal procedure, which is one of the courses I teach. And students come in full of knowledge from the TV show Law and Order. It isn't that bad. There are worse TV shows that if you're going to get your legal background from. And another good, when we talk about movies that help a student, is that the many trial advocacy programs actually use, believe it or not, the greatest trial lawyer of all time, my cousin Vinny, to teach them what to do and what not to do. And so people will use pieces from that movie to actually teach students about cross-examination, direct examination, certainly not what to wear in court, but about the practical application. And many of the national programs will do so as well.
Do you ever bring in guest speakers?
Oh, sure. We have both judges. We had Danny Ainge here last year, came in to talk to our sports law group, to talk to them about not just what they the law part of it is, but the business part of the practice is like as well. We bring a lot of experts in because law actually isn't just practiced in a courtroom anymore. Most major companies have a legal department and have legal problems and the like. So we bring a number of guest speakers from a number of different areas in to speak to our students.
Now, the American College of History and Legal Studies, which I said correctly this time,
it's a mouthful.
Is adopting some of the philosophy, more or less, of the classroom experience here.
Sure. What we think a good classroom experience for any student should be is a relatively small classroom space, whether it's 10 or 20 students or even more, that the student should be actively engaged in learning during the course of attendance in that classroom. And so what you would find, whether it's in the law school or at the history college, would be that they will not be lectured to, but they will be actively thinking. Their thoughts will be challenged with questions. They'll be solving problems. They'll really be thinking about what the next step to a solution to a problem is. And like in the law school, like in the real world, anytime they think they're close to a solution to the problem, we'll add in additional facts or give them additional things to think about so that they can stretch their thinking even further. What we hope to do, both in the law school and at the college level, is to create good, creative problem solvers, good thinkers, people who can deal with difficult subjects and not just deal with it in the traditional sense of getting rid of the problem, but really thinking through it so that they can be better problem solvers in the real world.
What's your role in the Massachusetts School of Law TV series?
We have, as you know, we have a number of different programs that we produce over the course of a year. We've done that actually since shortly after the founding of the school. I produce various programs as well as moderate some of the programs. And again, those topics range. We do everything from programs in animal law to advocacy work to great works of writing that are being introduced on a monthly basis to different people. And what we try to do, and it's always been our philosophy, is to, as an academic institution, to bring some of the knowledge that passes through the academic institution and make it more readily available to people in the public and hopefully entertain them in the process.